Last thing, in every video, the mic. Come on. Hide your mics. This is an epidemic of mass proportions. This is terrible. It's just terrible. Just hide the mic. Most good documentaries, but not all, have interviews in them. This is an integral part of the documentary process. In today's video, I'm going to tear apart your documentary interview setups, the cinematography of them, but I'm going to be breaking them down based on these categories. But I'm not going to just do it myself. I'm actually bringing in an authoritative person, none other than the Mr. Nicholas Pilecki.
Nicholas works.
He is an incredible cinematographer. Here's a couple of his shots. This is from his reel. Ooh, look at this. This is nice. Wow, Nick, how'd you do that one? Wow. I didn't know what we're putting on screen there, but we're going to jump right into this. Thank you for everyone who sent me your clips. Nick, let's tear apart some cinematography.
Let's get into it.
Okay, here is our first interview. This is from Dan Ray. Let's see his shots here. Here's our wide, our master with this gentleman here. And here's our tight. First, looking at this, and I'm like beautiful soft light, like it's really enhancing his skin tone.
Yeah, so let's talk about like the good things. So compositionally, like the eye line is good. They're both going to like towards the key side of camera. So we're having the camera face into the shadow side. We're shooting into like the L or the corner of the room. And in general, that's going to create a more depthy image. Also, the key light's coming from the same side that I see the window on.
Yeah.
So that's at least telling me that, hey, maybe that bank of windows continues on. And
believable.
We could live in a world where it's the window light that's lighting our subject.
Critiques? I don't know. I don't have much. I just feel like this plant, I would probably just, like this white space to me is kind of useless. I would have probably moved the plant over a bit more.
Yeah.
And this board here is a bit boring.
In general, if there's big like intersecting objects either sticking out of someone's shoulders, arms, or back their heads, I try to avoid that. Like, even on a shallow depth of field, that can be seen as distracting. So like if we move the plant in this one over just like 1.5 feet frame right, I think you'd notice that like the left shoulder just separates a bit more from the background.
I think overall there's like a little less contrast ratio in this. It's kind of flat. So if I had to nitpick, I would just say move them over to the center a bit more and add a little more contrast.
Yeah, I mean, walk in like a couple of floppies on frame left just to like crunch up that shadow side a bit even. I think you might find that the face looks a little more three-dimensional if you just up that contrast ratio a little bit.
Let's go on to the next one. Guy's using, oh no, I'm not reviewing a 9x16. Who is this? This is Vladislav Petrov. Great name. That's like a hockey player name.
Italian.
Is it?
No.
All right. Okay. Right away, the thing that annoys me, clearly there was a power outage because this thing is blinking 12 in the background.
Yeah, or they were trying to reset the clock.
Yeah.
So,
and I would say just very flat, just very bright. Maybe if this is a real estate commercial, this could work.
Yep, I would say anything in like real estate, like this would, that level of contrast on the face is okay. It's a bit bright, and I think once again we'd benefit from like bringing in some like dark fabric or neg from shadow side
right here.
Yeah, and then even just try like take down the exposure of the room so those windows are holding a bit more, and then like compensate on your key light appropriately. So if you find that you like ND or stop down by like one stop and everything's feeling too dark on your subject, well, that's when you can compensate by either like turning your key light up or like walking it in relatively.
Just like we're doing in this room that we've been playing around, so that the room right now, it's bright. There's a skylight, but we've really increased our key light here so the room is a little bit darker and we stand out. Where right now, my eyes are being drawn right here. Like there's just not much visual interest.
And then another small nitpicky thing is right now, let's say we're pointing into a room, I always try to point my camera towards our motivating light source. So right now it actually looks like we're slightly like 10 degrees angled into the corner of the room away from the window. I think you'd notice that your image would pop slightly bit more if we were 10 degrees to the shadow side and then facing towards like our back left corner there. And even if we go to the BCam, something that I'm always looking forward to is something called checkerboard lighting, where you're maximizing contrast on the face. So essentially, if you were to look at someone's face, you'd have dark wall, bright part of face, dark part of face, bright wall. So you're looking for this dark light, dark light. What we have here is like really high background on the really high part of the face and then darker background on the darker side of the face.
There's one more thing, Nick.
Even if somebody doesn't know anything about film, their eye is going to go to that black lav on a white shirt because it's just like, it's begging all of your attention to go there.
Jump into our Documentary Foundations course. We have a whole video about how to attach mics to people's bras. You don't have to do it. You can teach your subject, but you could have easily buried that mic onto the bra or underneath, or there's all sorts of different tapes. We have whole videos about this that explain to you how to attach that and hide it. Hide your mic, hide your mic, hide your mic. When do you talk to people and they're holding a mic unless they're a news interviewer? It just makes you uncomfortable. All right, Buzz Creative. Let's see this. Okay, look at this already. I'm liking. We got some negative fill here. I would say you're indoors, so just take the foamy off. I don't have the foamy on my mic. Yeah. Here's my other beef. I'm just looking at the BTS before we even get the shot. I can tell by this lens that you've used here in this light, two things. One, you could have brought that light in closer. I would say generally bring the light as close to the edge of frame as you can. You're going to be getting more wrap. It's going to be softer. Let's look at the actual content. Oh, very nice. Yeah, I like this. A little bit too dark back here. Probably you could lower the key down and open up a bit.
Yeah, so one thing we talk about is like contrast ratios on the face, but another thing to be conscious of is your foreground to background ratio. So there's this balance where you don't want it to feel like an interrogation interview where your subject is so much brighter than the background. In a lot of interviews, the area you've chosen is the context for the story. So I assume we're in some woodworking shop or some farm. So we're choosing these palettes because they're part of the story. Even the John Deere tractor, don't hide them. Find a balance where your subject can be pulled apart from the scene, but they're not the only thing that you can see.
My last note is it doesn't look like he knows where his eye line is. Typically, again, it's a principle. I hate saying you have to do it this way, but you want your person looking into the key and you want your interviewer to be on the same side as the key light. You want to sandwich your interviewer between the lens and the key light. That's where their eye line should be. It's going to be the most complementary. But right now he's looking off into the shadow side. And why you don't want that is when you look off into the shadow side, you lose all visual interest because it's now just suddenly
it flattens it out.
So if I were to move this over to the side and I talk over there, you can see I now have shadow. Where if I'm talking over here, it's just all lit.
Yes.
But this is more interesting.
Another reason to have the interviewer in between your key light and camera is that it's much easier to get a catch light because the eye line will be such that like the light will go right into the eye and you get that big chunky eye light.
You're so right. Look, if I'm looking over here, we're not getting it. And then if I look over here.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's almost like a window into the soul.
We brought Nick in because he's a huge contributor to the art of documentary. In fact, we're creating an entire new cinematography course with him. This isn't just about shooting nice images, because that's covered in many places, including in Cinematic Eye. This is about creating an amazing career path as a cinematographer. We're talking about all the things that you can't find on the internet, how to talk to producers, how to have the proper reach out so you can land those jobs, and what happens when you actually win the job. What is that process like? I can remember my first commercial gigs and not knowing what a tech scout was or what a recce was and not knowing how to actually be a part of those and be competent. We'll be breaking that all down with Nick in a complete new in-depth course. And so if you're like, they missed my video, we will be doing reviews if you're part of CinePath. That'll be the chance for Nick to go on a private Zoom call with you and a couple other cinematographers and actually get your content reviewed. This will actually be part of that course moving forward, is monthly calls. Nick will get on and review your cinematography or help you work through a cinematography issue. That'll be part of the CinePath course. And perhaps we'll do a bonus call around the launch. We'll wait to see. Moving on. Shoot, 16 by 9.
We have a 9/16.
Yes, right. I was saying 16:9.
No, I was just taking it.
Yeah.
So we have a 9/16 here, which, it is a natural part of the industry now. It's not my preference, but they do come up on shoots. So I would say this seems like a shot that was framed for 16:9 just because I kind of live in this world of like, we're losing the elbows right now. And It's like, we should either keep the body or really commit to like slicing down the shoulders, but like losing a little part of the body. It's kind of like if you were to take your camera and chop a little bit of the head off, it feels awkward. The other thing I would say here is that highlight through the window to me is completely
distracting.
Not every camera has the largest dynamic range, but I think it's important to learn within your tools how to balance that or to shoot into a section of the room. Like shooting into windows is more challenging to balance out. I would almost rotate the camera around and land her head against a darker part of the wall and use the window as motivation for your key light rather than trying to like fight that silhouette directly.
Yes, I agree. My 2 quick notes is I would have just backed down the exposure a little because whatever camera you're using here, we're starting to lose a lot of detail in the face. It's getting a bit muddy. It might be your export. It might just be because it's a bit more compressed. And then the other thing is we're underlighting. You can see how the shadows are going up on our subject's face. Underlighting, it kind of gives that spooky, like menacing look, like we're telling a ghost story when we underlight. So it's not that you can't ever underlight. It's that typically coming top down is more natural. It's where most lights come in a room, unless you have like pot lights on the ground, but then you're on a driveway. So in this case, we're inside a building.
Good thing about that one though, also, lav mic was the same color as wardrobe, so you can barely see it.
All right, Torian Victoria Fen Vergnaud. You try that.
You know what's crazy? I'm never offended when someone messes up my name. It doesn't bug me at all. I'm just like, yeah, I got a weird name.
This is interesting. You've heard me say this before in past videos, but we're crossing the axis here. Again, unless you have, my rule is don't cross the axis in an interview unless you have 4+ cameras. And the axis is this invisible line through the room, which you're drawing from your character's nose, and wherever you place your main camera, your main shot, the rest of the cameras should technically be on that side. Some people are like, oh, that's a dumb rule. It's not, because it gets confusing because we're now looking in 2 different directions. This won't cut well because we're looking here and now we're looking over here. It feels like 2 different perspectives, 2 different people. If you stay on that one side of the room, it will cut more seamlessly. And I would like to say leave, and if you can keep track, keep a notebook of where you've been on the axis, being like, okay, we're on the right side of their face in this interview. Then when you do other interviews with people, whether they have opposing views as that person or just a different character in the film, you can jump onto the other side. And then what's cool is that when you're cutting between it, you can definitively know that it's different people, but it also feels like there's a bit more of a conversation going on. Because traditionally in Hollywood, you don't jump the axis, but you have people's perspectives changing when you're having conversations. So right away, I do like the quality of light, but then unfortunately, this always happens is, of course, you have your camera and your key light. You're like, how do I fit in here? This is uncomfortable. But then you place them on this side, and now we have the person looking away from our key light. Like, see, when she looks over here, imagine if we AI'd her eyes down. To me, it would feel better because we're dead center on, and then it would match with that. Look at that. That's matching now. Look at that.
Just match for exposure.
But I like to be encouraging, and I would say I like the shape of light on the person's face. I like that you added clearly you thought about the background and adding some contrast ratios. So overall, very interesting frame. We have a lot of contrast. It's just a simple thing of put your director in the right place.
Yep.
Zach Alvarez, this is an interesting thing. We've been seeing this with a lot of people embracing windows, but you haven't nailed your exposure. If you're going to go for the windows, you got to nail the exposure. If this is all clipping, it just never looks good.
In general, my rule of thumb with clipping, it's just, is it distracting to my eye? If I see a big window, that's distracting. So if you look at these practicals, you might say, Nick, these are clipping as well. Well, they are, but they're such a small part of the image that it's like headlights on a car. I don't find those distracting, but the windows are taking up a good 40 to 50% of the background here. And that's when it starts to pull your eye away from your subject.
I just think it's so sad. I look at this big brick wall. I'm like, you could have actually set up a key light here and had this beautiful, you could have been using the window light for your exposure.
Essentially, rather than trying to fight the window, because even if you have an aperture 600 now, you have the output to battle the windows, but it is the toughest ratio to balance going straight into a hot window, before it feels like you've brought a light in. If we clocked our A camera 30 degrees clockwise, so our camera's more facing into this back wall with the flower painting here, and then we shoot along the windows, you're making those windows more slivered or smaller relative to camera. So then even if they're high in the waveform, they are less distracting because we're making them smaller and we're landing their head against a dark brick wall.
Josh White. Okay, first reactions, Nick.
I like this. Yeah, this has a premium look to it. I like not symmetry, but I like landing the head. I would almost say move your subject 1 inch frame left and land them dead center in the painting and really lean into that.
And then, but you got to shift the whole, I don't know why I'm moving over here.
I would shift the whole system slightly to the left and almost sneak in more of that window on your wide. Because right now we're just seeing the window frame. It's
yeah, you got this exposed though. It's nice.
No, I know. So in the wide, just let me see 4 inches of that window.
Yeah, we could have got, give a little 4 inches, That's the green there is kind of nice actually.
Yeah. I mean, we're balanced really well. The
beautiful cache light.
Key light's nice and soft. We're above the eye line. And then in this B camera, this is a great example of that checkerboard lighting I was talking about.
Yes.
Where you're wondering, like, why does the B camera just look so three-dimensional? Why am I so drawn to their face? It's because you have dark wall, bright key light, dark face, bright section of the wall. So we're maximizing contrast on not only our key side, but our fill side. And I would bet that we have a light coming out the window just based on the angle of this.
This is the first time we have a window that isn't just completely blown out.
Yep. If you're into post-production and color correction, which I'll go into in the course, we've kept the face in the B camera well away from the window. So if we needed to draw a power window or gradient down one side of the frame, we're never intersecting our subject to our window. So that is an easy way to control exposure between two zones.
Oh, I like this. I would approve. This is so nitpicky, and we'll see if AI can build this. Is I would zoom out just slightly. Don't cut off the top of the head, and just I don't like when chins and necks are just like getting chopped off. It's like maybe just a little bit wider. I always think rule for a B cam. This is actual rule: is err on the side of slightly wider. You can always punch in. Last thing in every video. Here's where you're going to lose points, Josh. The mic. Come on. I know it sounds like I'm just pushing our course, but Documentary Foundations, we dropped the price on it. There's a whole section on how to hide mics. Hide your mics. This is an epidemic of mass proportions that is infiltrating the world of filmmaking. Microphones are just is there like big microphone, like big pharma is out there being like, maybe they're getting paid to place their mic out there. This is terrible. It's just terrible. Just hide the mic.
This is just me personally speaking. You can get away with just a boom.
Just like this. I don't have labs on. We're going to get that on a t-shirt.
I would go just boom.
AOD. Just boom. Just boom it, baby. This is Colin Langan. Right away, I know I like this because if we were to put a waveform up right now, and Santi will do that, you can see there is highs and lows in this. Yep. We have this, probably stained glass. I would prefer it if you could have ND'd that down. What's interesting is stained glass like that. It could have hung some cloth outside, and you could definitely ND'd that. But right now we have like a brighter face. We have this light. Like there's a good contrast ratio in this. You probably could have pushed it even more. But overall, very complimentary. I like it. Minus points. Mike's in the shot. Guys, just boom it, right? What was the phrase? Just boom it. Just boom it. Yeah.
You'll notice on the kicker light, we feel it on the back, left neck, around the ear, back of the head, even reaching around to the bit of the cheek, but it never reaches the tip of the nose.
The tip is the most sensitive part.
That's what she said.
Okay. All right. We got Doris here. I love that there is like this more teal tone in the background. I actually don't mind that it's dark. There's this beautiful grain, great choice of shirt, beautiful beads. I would just say this key light to me is like a bit too harsh. Not in the sense of the quality. I would just say the shape. I would have edged it over just a bit. I think just with like someone who's a bit older, it's like, let's be a bit more kind to them than these like grim shadows. I would also probably have panned the camera a bit more to the right because I feel like if we wanted the nice waveform that's bouncing around, this lamp would be more in the corner. We'd have this darker spot, and then we'd have this
like the far left of the room feels like
nothing.
And the key light, I mean, it looks...
You can like it. We can disagree.
I would have to know the subject matter, but like this is a good case, like especially with older people who have... Yeah, humans who have...
we can assume she's a lady.
Deeper wrinkles, deeper crevices in your face, like double breaking your key or like adding another layer of like light grid or very like even a shower curtain.
What's double breaking mean?
So double breaking is where you have your key light and you have one layer of diffusion and you bring in a second layer of larger diffusion in front of it. Okay. So it essentially spreads the light out in real time, and it doesn't like you can T-bar it or just hang it out loose like right off the edge of camera. You'll notice that the graduation from key to fill side, like it becomes a little less harsh, and especially like older talent, you'll really make them pop more.
It looks great. Marcus Mazzano. Great name. Marcus Mazzano.
So it's a lot of
windows. We're big on the windows. This one works for me.
That one works for me. That one is balanced. The highlights are a bit hot, but like you're shooting out of a window. So at least I will say the head is landing against not the hardest part in the like hottest part in the window. So like up here on top left, you'll see like those highlights are probably the hottest or like the highest in the waveform there. At least it's a little darker in the zone we chose to land the head. The BCam, we're getting into that zone where, to me, it feels like the face is sinking into clipped windows.
Here's what I'll say. You want as much usage out of both camera angles. If you're going to bring a second camera on set, it's going to shoot the same data rate. You're going to have the same amount of weight on your hard drives and in your edit as this one. So make it more usable. I find when you start swinging around to the side edge, if you want stylistic shots, you can get a third camera or just do that for a little. But I would recommend, we're just barely getting the side of her eye here. I'm glad we have both eyes. But yeah, I think just 30 degrees more over, like Nik said, then you have this background. We'd have that greenery. It wouldn't just be this big white blob. And then in turn two, I think this is where you want to crank that key up so that you can match the exposure on this. So I love the shot. I was really excited for the B angle. Mazzano, I think it was like a really cool frame you created here. If I can be hard, it's a disappointing B angle. It could be anywhere. It no longer introduces the room. It's just kind of a head floating. I feel like you really missed the chance to have a beautiful green background.
It's the most competing background.
Yes.
Like it would be the toughest to balance. Even a veteran DP, this is a tough choice for them to make look good.
I'll just say this lighting on her face, it's perfect.
The balance of even these two internal trees, like I would bet my soul that you brought those in.
Let's be careful with the soul. You know what happened to Bart. Whenever I go to a grocery store and the doors don't open, I'm like, I've lost my soul. This is from Guillermo.
Okay, so first thing I'll say, compositionally, you're doing good things. We're sneaking in a bit of the window. That's the motivator for our key. Eye lines on the correct side of camera. Based on the 1 second we were playing, it looked like her eyes were darting a bit, but there's nothing that we can do other than reassure our talents, like try to maintain eye contact with our interviewer. I like the shape on the face. There's good contrast to the shadow side.
This is tight. This is okay for a few moments. I think for a whole interview,
tough to work your way back. Let's say we're on...
I don't hate it.
No, but let's say we're on like 80 to 100 mil here on our BCam. If throughout the interview process, she decides to like lean 4 inches towards camera, you might find that we're clipping the chin off at a weird angle or the eyes are falling like significantly higher in the frame. And then once again, if we were to pull up our false color, the key light is getting dangerously close in exposure value to this line on the window here. If you roll your B camera around and you just have this dark window be the break from the key, you're going to save yourself a world of like pain from not hunting for contrast.
This is what I appreciate about Nik. Is even last night, he came off a shoot with Michael, and this morning in our text thread, we had all the stills from the shoot color corrected. Nik is excellent at color correcting. He teaches it, and he'll be doing an in-depth dive of that in CinePath Pro, where we'll be going through that color correction. If you're a cinematographer and you really want to carve out a healthy career in it, you do need to know at least a baseline of color correction, because you need to know what you can get away with in post, but also what you're doing to set yourself up for the most success in post-production. Last thing I'll say, I don't want to hate on these frames. I don't like telling people, don't get that close, but that's really intimate. And this is uncomfortable for you right now. And you probably smell my coffee breath. That's what this feels like. Feels like we're about to kiss her, which is okay if it is a really intimate moment. Yeah, overall, I don't want to be too hard. I think kind of useless headroom I would have cropped in, but that's my preference.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like it cuts well to the B camera. Like my eyes aren't jumping around a lot.
We're going to be doing a video in CinePath Pro where Nik's going to show you all the extra little tools that he will always go to set with. You want to always make sure you have enough tools. And what I always appreciate about Nik is like I recommended him. We needed a DP last minute for a shoot that Michael was doing. And Nik is never stuck. You had all the right tools to be able to make even this basement, which you said when you came in, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, but you made it look amazing.
Well, no, anything can work. It's just how much do we have to work?
Yes.
I like the mood here.
Oh, this is cool. I mean, we got a lot of extra B-roll. Let's analyze this. Okay, I'll say like really cool room, or maybe it's part of their story that things feel a little off, but our horizon line is definitely off. Like I want to just correct it a little bit. And we have a situation, again, looking into the shadow side. It feels like we would want our interviewer on the right side of camera. But I appreciate the bold frame and, it's nice kind of soft, even lighting. And I kind of like the cool look against his kind of warmer skin tones.
The color grade on this is really
that's what's
great.
Working the best for it.
The color grade great. I'm always a sucker for like landing your subject on a frame within a frame. So if you see like the kind of like the painting in the background here, placing our subject's head in the middle of that square, frame within a frame, like placing your subject in between shapes is always very aesthetically pleasing to me. One thing I'm not a huge fan of, and if you can avoid this for your project, try not to interview the subject where you know a ton of your B-roll is going to take place.
That was exactly what I was going to say, because it's even the exact same shots. I feel like
shoots yourself in the foot for the edit, because we're always seeing the same background, so there's no relief to your viewer. They always feel like, oh, we're in the same space. We're trapped here. Because you've done a great job with your B-roll being like, clearly this was one room, you've gotten outside the room to do, like, you've maximized your coverage, you're shooting through foreground, you're using reflections on the table, like, you're making a lot of really smart decisions. It's just give your audience one breath where you're cutting back to even if your interview is on like 100 mil and all we're seeing is like
even
their
like this
face, like that's a moment of breath, because our focus is enough away from the painting that when we come back to it for the B-roll, it doesn't feel like I'm seeing the same 5 shots back to back.
Thank you for everyone who sent these videos in. We're sorry we couldn't get to everyone's. Like we said, there will be more opportunities, especially if you're in AOD, especially if you're going to be in the CinePath Pro course. You'll be able to get your content reviewed. Stay locked. We're going to be releasing some more sneak peeks and some more videos from what Nik's putting into the CinePath Pro course. And let us know in the comments below if there's specific videos that you want to see included in this course, in our teachings, or in future videos here on YouTube. We love to be always helping specific problems, specific challenges that you're facing in your career. We don't want to just tell you how it's done. We want to know what you're working through. And remember, with everything we said today, I really want you to take this home. These are principles. These are not rules. These are our opinions. This is from our experience and our taste. You have to develop your own taste. But based on our knee-jerk reactions and the amount of footage that Nik and I have had to look to, these are the first feelings that we're getting from these shots. And sometimes when you're shooting a piece and you only have a few seconds to nail that interview and you want the client to come back, you want people being left with that experience that they can trust you. You make the subjects look the best, and that the cinematography enhances the story and isn't disruptive. It helps the edit move forward. So thank you, Nik, for lending all of your wisdom. Thank you, Santi. This was probably the most talking head footage I've ever given you. And thank you to whatever physiotherapist is out there that's going to be helping me with my
L5.
L5. All right, see you on the next one.